Jerome. So we'll try one more time. Third time's the charm. See if we can get this conversation to follow all the way through. Um, but we are beginning the conversation about liquiditarianism as right now, anything like that. Maybe this conversation is too dope, so they're trying to censor us. Yeah. No, I don't think like that. I'm just joking. I think I hear you, Jerome. You
You
there,
don't
brother?
see me though?
No.
Oh my God.
Let's just try it. Let's just try it. Let's just see if it pans out. If you're down, if
All
you're down.
right, go ahead. We got you.
Okay. I think everybody else can see the two of us. I just can't see your face, your lovely face, but that's all right. I watch enough of your videos, so I get dosed.
But yeah, you were saying
Yeah.
the
So,
differences between Nicholas and Elitan.
well, not so much the focus on the differences, but just that Nicholas has this approach of uh, uh, just moving to liquid foods as the main line to breatharianism, basically independently of other practices, you know. And like I was just starting, kind of trying to frame it again as we started this version of this live, of like it would seem very hard to me. It seems, and Nicholas and I talked about this, that the core of the path is this path to the heart, and uh, to the inner world, the sense of inner freedom and peace, and that breatharianism is just like a way, toward that as you liberate your body and you liberate your mind. Um, and but to me, the energetic cultivation and the practice, it seems very hard to me. Maybe just in American culture, maybe it's in Europe because Europe's more laid back and more in touch with nature and stuff. I don't know. Um, it would seem very hard to me to tap in to that interior energy source without the practices of meditation and qigong. But maybe that's just because of my, you know, taking on of the teaching from Elitam. So I don't know. I just wanted to get your thoughts about this because moving, I know for you, knowing more about your with a long drive fast to liquiditarianism, like straight away. And something Nicholas had pointed out was just even the action of chewing, this sort of carnal thing of like your body is a blender essentially or a juicer, and so that's why liquiditarianism is better because it takes all that energy out of the work. But the mentality that comes, the psychology that comes with biting and eating things, versus drinking things, and all of that transitional sort of the way the water causes your like energy emotional body to flow more. I just don't, wanted to see your thoughts and, do you have anything to speak to those with your experience?
Yeah, the absence of meditation or any form of energy work definitely would make this a different journey for me. It would be
Mm-hmm.
very different if I wasn't doing any meditation, if I wasn't consciously breathing, if I wasn't doing any energy work like Qigong, if I wasn't grounding in nature, if I wasn't, doing a lot of, mental reprogramming, if I wasn't just constantly spending time sitting down in silence, tuning into my body and really harnessing, you know, just solar energy. I don't think this would have been the same journey. It would have been a different journey. Yeah, much different journey for sure.
Mm-hmm. 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 That for me, that's really the joy of the journey is this practice of the cultivation of the inner space, you know,
Right,
um,
right.
and that's why fat, dry fast and juice and do all this stuff is because that leads to the results of this freeing up on the
Mhm.
inside, has been my experience. And dry fasting is definitely, we talked about this too. It's been some of the study I've been doing at the Juice Guru Institute, is when people, you know, die or get sick from fasting, it's not usually from malnutrition. No, that does happen, definitely. Um, it's usually from autotoxicity, from releasing the toxins that have been accumulated in your body too quickly, you know. And so something we also talked about is like the journey, you know, in stages back to the, like stage 4 breatharian state where you take nothing in, like Ellie Tom or, like part of Johnny or what have you. That, you know, after thousands of years of practicing, generational eating to uh, cut ourselves off too quickly would be, it just wouldn't even be possible, you know. Um, so I don't know. I'm kind of curious about that also with respect to your journey in particular because of your quick jump into breatharianism, like, because you dry fasted on that first dry fast longer than I have in like many years of practice. And some of that may be, I understand melanated people have greater access to solar energy. Actually, that's something Elitom talks about. Uh, so I don't know, just thoughts that reflect in my mind about you and what's going on with you over there in
Yeah.
your journey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. The first time that I went as long as I did, I really attribute that not only to Ellie Tom's presence, but the presence of everyone else, the synergy of the group that I was with at the time during that retreat, and also just the
Yes.
practices that we were doing every day. We were just doing energy work every day. We were doing mental reprogramming every day. We were walking, we were exercising every day. And yeah, just being in that collective gathering, everyone just kind of on one accord, just releasing so much trauma, so many emotions, so much baggage, so much burden, just letting their shoulders down and just all the stuff that was over encumbered on us, letting it all go. And just seeing people do that and allowing yourself to do something with a group that may only happen, it was like it was like, let me for in order to feel something I've never gotten the chance to feel. So yeah, I think there were a lot of reasons why I was able to go that long. But, since then, I mean, I haven't gone that long since then. And it's been, quite some time since then. It's been since 2020 that I've gone that long. So
Mhm.
I definitely say it was the magical gathering that I felt pushed me further than I knew I could even go. Yeah.
They say that even like the military uses that like the buddy system.
Hmm.
You'll go much farther for yourself and for your group than you will for just yourself. It's
Right.
like a tribal psychology kind of a thing.
Right.
So I feel that, and I myself I've been going through this in the context of a family that all does basically standard American diet, eating all organic and stuff, but they're all eaters, everybody around me, and developing this on my own in the context of that has definitely been like challenging, and definitely been craving that synergy of community and something I value about being able to connect with you, brother, and Nabiha, and others who value the same path and journey. It helps to have that synergy and that sort of mastermind connection with others. So thank you, for being my friend.
Absolutely. Thank
And
you. Thank you, brother. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, of course, it's such a blessing and a journey, and that's like, what it's all for is like talking with Nicholas about that too. It's like um, something that's been on my mind and heart lately, after pursuance of, breatharianism and longevity and herbalism and all these things for years, and they're huge values to me, but they are based on my motivations as a Buddhist to um, awaken to the highest potential possible in this life and to extend help to other beings to as much of my potential as possible in this life. And because there are things, I see this a lot, like just sort of in the overall culture and social media and such, of like all the cool tricks and the biohacks and all the little bits of, wisdom interspersed. But really, we want to be living lives of value that are, long and meaningful, and to develop merit, because there's something even more important than the development of our bodies and our, businesses and our families in this world, and that's like our spiritual um, lessons and growth, you know. And I see breatharianism as a path to that. All the different things, the meditation, sort of the discipline, like the just the practice of discipline, um, as well as like the sun gazing, the connection with Earth, and our way back to ourselves through remembering, in community with one another and with the elements of earth, wind, fire, and water in nature, our real potential, which is something else Nicholas and I talked about, is like being the gardeners of the planet and just really spreading benefit with all, if we cultivate this loving, peaceful place inside ourself, it's like a natural outpouring. And I see that in you and the cultivation you've done to yourself. You just pour yourself out to the community day after day in a really beautiful way, and that's the kind of way we're going to resacralize the world, is by showing the value, by imbuing it with our own golden energy,
Right.
and our investment of our heart energy into the things that are really valuable, which is like the people and the animals and the life here, you know. Um,
Absolutely.
I don't
Absolutely.
know. I just went down a tangential
No, you're good.
road there.
You're good. Yeah. 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 Lewis has a question. Lewis is saying, while dry fasting, have you felt a need to pray or surrender in order to keep going under tough moments mentally or emotionally?
You want to go first, bro?
Yeah. So I definitely have felt the need to surrender for sure. And there was one time that I talk about it in a couple of my books. I talked about actually praying. I went to this Buddhist monastery. It was like a temple in the middle of Little Tokyo. There was a Japanese village nearby. And in the temple, I went and I lit this incense stick, and I remember praying, and I had never prayed for this before ever in my life, but I prayed for the hunger to be taken away. And after that, I remember maybe either that night or maybe a night after that, there was a dream that I had, and it was a total surrender. It was in the dream. They asked me, like, is this what you want? Is this sincerely the path that you want to take? And I remember saying yes, and there being a door. And then I walked through this door and I woke up. And when I woke up, I was still surrounded. I was in the room with everybody else in their sleeping bags in this little room. It was like maybe 9 of us, just like, playing Tetris with our bodies with each other. And yeah, I mean, after that, something happened and it made a switch and it became effortless. It was like, one of my friends calls it when God flicks the switch. And it was like fasting became effortless. It was like it didn't feel like that much effort needed to be put into it. It was like a choice. It was like if I really did want to go back and eat, it felt like a conscious choice or a decision instead of a compulsion. It didn't feel like a compulsion. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love that. That's a trip though, bro, because it mirrors my experience very closely.
Okay.
Because well, so with my dry fasting, I was, this started years ago for me, about 8 years ago, because I went liquiditarian around 7 years ago, and I was watching Ellie Tom's videos, and I've always timed my stuff with astrological timing
Mm-hmm.
because then I find it just circulates more easily. So I was getting ready for my big 4 day dry fast,
Mm-hmm.
and that was like the longest one, still. Um, and I remember having a dream. I remember having, hunger come and feeling kind of faint, and remembering some of the stuff that like Devon and Ellie Tom had shared about the breath and Ray Mayor about breathing.
Mm-hmm.
So I take some good deep nose breaths, and I find that when you're dry fasting, if you feel hungry, take some good. You don't want to like do like heavy panting because you'll pass out, but you want to get some good oxygen, you know, and that helped really quell it. But it was still like coming and going, and I had a dream too. And my past, and if you remember from before this incarnation of Instagram, Jerome, I think you knew me before when I was doing more, raw wild foods and all this stuff. And I had this dream that I went to a family reunion in Wyoming, and they had this really cool restaurant with all these beautiful giant log tables and stuff, and they made all raw wild foods. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh man, I'd love to try that, but I'm choosing this path now. And they were like, well, this food isn't food. This is pranic food.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is dream food. And I ate it, and I experienced in that dream flavors I've never experienced in life. You know, they were. It was this whole like sense of bliss experience that I had.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, my dry fasting got easier, but I just chose to break it anyway because I
Mm-hmm.
had already kind of fixed my mind on this time gap that I was going to give myself, and then I was going to get back to, because I got to go back to work, and I got, it's the life for me,
Mm-hmm.
physically um, doing labor a lot, so managing my energy has been a key thing in
Mm-hmm.
this whole experience. But yeah, and then after that, it was just more. Ever since then, it's been more simple, and just today, it came. I was having a wonderful conversation with my friend Callan, and it came time for my breakfast, and I just had breakfast because it was time. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, I feel like every day I come to that after dry fasting 23 hours, I feel like that reinvigoration of prana. But that's something that Nicholas and I talked about, and that Ellie Tom has chanted too, is like, rather than these long, extended, protracted, really like superhero fasts and things like that, that you can meet yourself there, and there's growth to be had there, but it can be too extreme. And if you can take a more gentle path,
Yeah. Yeah.
where you don't drop a lot of weight, where you don't really um, over extend yourself,
Right.
but grow into it gradually,
Right.
then your results will be better. It'll be more fun, you know.
I agree.
So, but trippy because that is very similar kind of. Um, and I think the dream realm, that's like a whole nother thing, with respect to this path, and part of the juiciness or things I love about it is just more of like that consciousness exploration and expansion of like dream yoga. If we spend a third of our lives asleep, wouldn't it be good to be, in the Buddhist sort of dream yoga tradition or dream tantra, they talk about it's good to be dreaming while you're awake and awake while you're dreaming.
Mm.
So you can have more connection with your subconscious mind, and your conscious mind in your sort of day and night body. Um, so, um, and a lot of, I don't know, that would be another thing I'd be interested to ask you about, because I know like Nabiha and various other people, when I started when I moved into liquiditarianism, I didn't experience this so much, but when I moved into 23 hours a day dry fasting and juicing for an hour, uh, I had like a year where I only needed about 5 hours of sleep,
Hmm.
you know, and but I would meditate for like 3 hours, in a 20 or 4 hours in a 24-hour period, you know, and that shifted for me now. I'm back to like my regular sleep cycle.
Hmm.
And I don't know if that's because the people around me are sleeping, but has your sleep changed dramatically, either when you first made your transition or still, or how's your sleep, or your dream life while sleeping been affected through the process?
Yeah,
If I may
good
ask.
question. Good question. It's definitely fluctuated. In the beginning, when I was going long days without anything, that's when I was, up a lot more and I was sleeping a lot less. Now that I do have juice and coconut water and liquids during the day, I'll still sleep, but depending on if my cutoff period, if I cut it off early, then I won't sleep as much, but I'll be very rested. Dreams will be
Mm-hmm.
very lucid. So like the less liquids
Mm-hmm.
I have, the more lucid I am. The more that I
Mm-hmm.
just kind of subsist. And then within the dream realm, there's been times where it was like a waking, it was like just a waking life. It didn't seem like it was a dream. It really felt vivid, like it really felt I was living in another reality. And when I took that
Yes.
message back into this reality, I could write things down, I could chart things out, and I could see, wow, this definitely happened for a reason. It was showing me parts of my subconscious that maybe I had ignored, maybe I had denied, and things were coming up to the surface. Even times when in my dream, it was like there was food in my dream. And there were times where I haven't had food in a long time, but I still would have dreams of food in my dreams. So I was like, what is this? And then, now these days I will get up, sometimes just be awakened at like 3 a.m. and then I'll just start meditating. I do this thing where I check my nostrils. And if my right nostril is more open, or if my left nostril is more
Mm-hmm.
open, then I'll choose to either rest or meditate or get up and do a video. Yeah. So
Me
it's
too.
I go
Yeah,
I
yeah.
go by the nostrils. Yeah.
Yeah, I find it's not so much. It's often a nostrils thing because I'm a side sleeper, but
Hmm.
you know, oftentimes I'll be waking up just because I don't think like Ellie Tom says, sleeping is unconscious meditation, and I just don't feel like I'm breathing as deeply as I need to or as I want to, you know,
Hmm.
as I empty out, especially these days I've been, trying to breakfast at, 1:30 and be done by 2:30. So, by bedtime I'm really empty, um, because I've noticed that too, with the dream world being way more lucid. Some of the most real experiences I've had were in recent years in the dream world that were like
Sure.
more psychedelic than psychedelic and more real than this
Yeah.
reality. It felt like,
Yeah.
and just
Hmm.
awesome, just like, oh, I want to experience that some more. That's pretty cool. So, you know, that's a lot of kind of like the motivations that drive me actually is just the fun of it. But um, yeah, what else? There was something else you said that kind of caught my attention, but I kind of got distracted because it's pretty light outside. Um, what was it? Oh well, yeah, just the whole thing of the dream realm and sleep. Oh yeah, the breathing. I feel like that was another thing. Moving to liquiditarianism and fasting more. Like, and you don't know it until you've experienced it. I know you know it. I know Nabiha knows it. I know other people have experienced it, like if they've done like a juice fast. But when you actually clean out your dantian, and evacuate. I mean, I still evacuate after years of being on liquids, and we actually absorb things. That was one of the things we were wanting to talk about. There's so many fun things, but that whole video on how we actually absorb nutrient science is like finding now that we do inhale micronutrient because we breathe so much in terms of liters of oxygen that we inhale this, pollen, and, people by the sea get more iodine and these kinds of things, as well as like the science around the energy of the sun. But just this fasting and juicing and opening up the dantian, washing that out, it's like you release emotions, stuck emotions and traumas around survival. I feel like particularly with that root chakra, energy. Um, but it also opens up. I remember this feeling because I was moving to liquiditarianism and I was drinking this chocolate drink, and I had like this bodily memory of being an infant. My mom used to put chocolate milk in my bottle, you know, and they say the Taoists, always talk about the importance of uh, prenatal breathing, or breathing like an infant, or before you were even born, like this belly expanding, radiating breath with the belly, relaxed, open breathing. And I was having just this bodily experience of like, wow, like I haven't been able to breathe like this since it's like I'm an infant again, you know. Um, and so, did you experience that as well?
Which part?
What, just like feeling like for the first, like being able to really breathe, um, in a relaxed way without effort, like for the first time in ages. That was something that was a profound dawning for me. It was like, wow, I don't even have to try to breathe. My body just does
Yes,
it, you know. Um,
yes. So a couple of times. So the first time that happened to me was directly after the retreat with Ellie Tom, and I went to a park, and this is when I called my mom, and this was probably the beginning of the whole intervention that she had with my father later on. But she thought I was completely
mhm,
crazy, and she thought I'd lost it
mhm,
because I was feeling the best I'd ever felt in my life. I remember being in the park, in the grass, looking at the squirrel, looking at a lady pushing her toddler in the stroller, just looking at everybody around me, that I was a part of everything. I was a part of the environment in the park. And I remember just listening to the birds and just watching just different animals, and just looking at the leaves of the trees and just feeling the air in my hands. And I just waved
mhm,
my hand in the air, and I remember feeling the moisture in the air. I had finally become sensitive enough that it felt like my body opened up, my pores opened up, and I was breathing through my skin. My skin was breathing. And so I felt like the
mhm,
air felt like water, but it also was like drinking the atmosphere as I was just in the atmosphere. It was like I was just one with everything. And I hadn't felt that connected ever. I didn't even know what that felt like. So I didn't have words to describe what I was feeling. And I remember calling my
mhm,
mom, and I told her, don't freak out, but I haven't eaten or drinking any, hadn't had anything to eat or anything to drink in, the past 2 weeks, and I just feel amazing. And there was just a big silence on the phone. She was very quiet for a while. And I remember the second time I heard, or the second time that I felt that way, was in Atlanta, in Georgia. I went to a conference and I documented it too, because this was when I was talking with Tanya. You know Tanya?
mhm. No, just kind of through you.
Okay. Well, I was speaking with Tanya. We were dry fasting together, so we were going on prana days, or we call them freedom days together. And once again, just the camaraderie, the synergy of us doing something together, making a commitment to go so many days together. That kind of pushed me. And then I got to a point where I made the switch again, and it felt like a pranic switch, and my body opened up in this hotel at this place in Atlanta, Georgia, and it was like my body was breathing. My heart, actually, I remember trying to feel my heart, and I almost panicked because I couldn't hardly feel my heart. It was like my heart wasn't even there. It wasn't thumping, like when you do physical exercise and you're really working out and really pumping, oxygen through your body really vigorously, or doing push-ups or boxing. It didn't feel like it was pumping like that. It felt like I wasn't, it felt like it wasn't even pumping. It felt like I wasn't, like my heart wasn't there. So I was almost panicking because I was like, am I still alive? I was like, am
Am
I
I
still
good? Am I
alive?
good?
I didn't know if I was alive because I couldn't feel my heart, but my body was breathing on its own. It was just animated on its own, and it felt like it was just undergoing under another natural law. It was like I was under a different law of this governing universe. It was like the universe had taken control, and now I was being breathed. I didn't have to
Yeah.
breathe. I was being breathed. You know, it was like
Mhm.
by everything that was around me, it was just happening automatically. So it was blowing my mind at the amount that, I mean, it was just surreal. It was a surreal experience. So just being able to document that and catalog that and just show people, wow, you know, like I have never felt like this before, but oh man, you know, don't knock it till you try it. But it definitely took me past a lot of mental barriers and a lot of limitations with my imagination surrounding nutrition, surrounding the minerals, the vitamins, and just what I thought I needed to even be alive, to even be standing, you know, just to be
Mhm.
standing. I didn't know that, you know, we can function on so little, we can actually do a lot with a little. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. It's really amazing. And it's like it's such a freeing revelation. Um, you know, I remember Ellie Tom coming here because you know he came to do a retreat here, but it was just there was like three people. We had some synergy and it was really nice. But for me, I was just very grateful to spend time with him. And like
Mhm.
you said, that being around his energy, you feel the prana.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to describe unless you're actually in his presence. It's like you feel his Dantian is this wide open energy,
Mhm.
like conduit, you know? And it's just pouring energy, or you know, it's like a spring almost. And I
Mhm.
think this is all of us. And he talks about that. It's like the constriction. Like if you think about a hose, when you squeeze it, like the water has to, you know, forcefully come out.
Mhm.
When you open it, more water can flow. You know, and I think that's what's happening as we, you know, belly breathe, as we relax our
Mhm.
whole nervous system, and as we fast and open up the dantian, this energy can just surge, you know, through our
Yeah.
bodies. And I get like moments of it, and I think it is possible, you know, through this practice to cultivate a state of essentially continual bliss
Yeah.
in connection with like your wisdom source. You know, the clarity of mind that comes just from fasting alone has been like really profound, you know.
For sure.
And that was kind of the cool thing talking with Nicholas today, because you know I've been so focused as an herbalist on nutrition and like herbs and all these things, and I really feel like they are a very high way, you know, to get there. But his point was like it's really a matter of what you choose and what resonates with you, because there are people who are interested in our community and this life path who are meat eaters, for instance, who are turned off by, you know, sort of the dominance of vegan dogma. And to me, that's my choice. I uh, to me, I want a ahimsa sort of karma free way of living. Fruits resonate with me. They're so tasty and beautiful and all those kinds of things. So, but there may be people who are called to this path, like my friend Troy Casey, you know, has been a health warrior into nutrition, into fasting, doing qigong, doing meditation, doing all that stuff, but eating meat, and then kind of defensive against vegans. And I think this is something that would be good to resolve in our community, understanding that whether you eat meat or whether you're vegan or whatever, if you're into natural food and health, we're on the same team. You know, we're trying to heal our bodies and the earth, and you know, and to give people the dignity of choice. You know, it's definitely my choice, and I encourage it in others. You know, in terms of karma, in terms of, you know, health and just suffering overall. I think a vegan diet's better, but that's just my opinion. It's not a fact. It's my opinion. You know, so
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
I resonate.
I don't know.
I
Do you have
resonate.
any thoughts?
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
it's definitely become my my opinion, my thought process, my belief system that I have adopted, you know, consciously and with intention after I watched certain things that I had never watched before. So that was
Mhm.
definitely my choice to draw that line in the sand for myself to say I don't want to go back. You know, I've had enough. You know, there's been enough of the
Mhm.
suffering. You know, whether consciously or
Mhm.
unconsciously, just having my body be a graveyard, you know, for so many years, I didn't want to go back. You know, I don't have a desire to go
I,
back. So I've even
I
told
agree.
people who ask me, will you ever eat solids again? Will you ever have solids again? I've always told them, you know, if I ever do, then I know where I'm staying. You know, I know that there's a line that I won't go over, that I'll stay right there.
The
So
choice.
yeah, that's just my conscious choice as well. Like you said, you know, it's just something that I've adopted. Yeah.
Mhm. So interesting. I think there's as many ways, to prana as there are people. Like we all have our own style and our own sort of, doshas and genetic history and healing path. And I think it's important to cultivate like sort of as wide and open a road and a door, for as many to come through as possible.
Hmm.
Because I feel like personally, it's that kind of thing with even for me moving to raw foods, I just wanted to scream from the mountaintops about, hey everybody, this way to healing, this is awesome, I feel amazing, and I still, that just continues, but at higher levels, and just, through the healing that I've been able to experience physically and spiritually and mentally, for myself as well as cultivating, the um, education around land care and seeing how with our intention and focus we can affect really amazing, beautiful, positive change in life, in our own lives or lives outside of us, just by directing our minds that way. You know, um, I think that is really more so all these things are sort of logistics of practice with respect to like chronic living. I think, but then the real juicy part is like, cultivating that wisdom journey, and uh, connection with your inner guidance, that is always on point.
Right.
You know, if you're tapped into it, it's always guiding you right. But
Mm-hmm.
we believe we're higher creators, as many light workers are trying hard to eat less liquid and vegan or vegetarian. Yes. And that would be the point that I take well from Nicholas is like, make the journey gentle, make it easy. At a certain point, if you're called to that, you'll want to make a firm boundary, and be like, no, no more killing. Um, but if not, don't judge on yourself. Um, don't be shamed into veganism. You know, do it out of a loving choice, a natural loving choice from your heart. You know, um, I would say
Yeah,
rather
it had to be
than
that way
force
for
a thing.
me. Yeah. It definitely
Yeah, me too.
it definitely had to
Me
be
too.
that way
I would
for me because no one could have convinced me otherwise. Like I had to see it, you know? I had to
mhm,
actually
mhm.
see what the contribution was. You know, I had to actually witness it. And I wasn't even physically in there, but it was just visually so shocking, so disturbing, and just so, you know, almost like your inner child was has been deceived, you know?
It's
It was like
traumatic.
my inner
It's
say
traumatic
again?
when it's traumatic when you see
Yeah,
the
yeah.
violence that we perpetrate in other beings. It's whatever we definitely need to change our farming practices, even with respect to animal agriculture. If we're even going to consider that road, I think as humans, because I totally agree. It's totally inhumane. You know, uh, totally disturbing, and like Nicholas was pointing out, there's all this war in the world because we have war in our bodies. You know,
Mm, hmm.
um,
Yeah.
like if you're eating junk food, you're eating, animals that have, been smashed in a compactor and screaming the whole time. Like that's not human, you
Right,
know.
right. And you know, as Wayne
So
is saying here as well, he's talking about the documentary Slaughtering Animals, Dominion. I didn't even make it to Dominion. You know, I
mhm.
stopped on Earthlings. Earthlings was the one that I watched, and I didn't even make it to Dominion. I heard that Dominion was way worse, and I heard from some of the people that are connected with the editors of Dominion that even the editors of Dominion, with all the stuff that they put in that documentary, even they had to leave a lot of stuff out. Like there was footage that they actually saw that they couldn't put
It
in
was
because it was too horrible. It was too evil. You know, they
mhm.
themselves were like, no, this is too bad. We can't even put this inside the documentary. Like they had to leave it out. So it just shows you,
And if we can,
yeah. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. Oh, I was just say, if we can do that to animals, we can do it to people.
Exactly.
It's not much of a psychological, you know.
Exactly. Exactly. You got
So,
it. You got it.
so I see on that personal note of my choice, I prefer ahimsa as a pattern and as a intention. I rather cause no harm,
Hmm.
zero harm, you know, and that, but that's fine, you know, if because there are, you know, the differentiation. There's like these kind of like really strong sided, you know, on social media. If you can take a strong stance, you'll get more likes and follows. If you irritate people or, you know, cause a fuss, you know. But I feel like I have so many friends that are Native American who really have a beautiful connection and process with the land and with animals, you know, and the way they describe, you know, the honorable harvest, whether it's, you know, plants or animals, they ask and they wait to receive, and they never take more than is given, and they always use it all with total gratitude. You know, there's a huge difference in that reciprocal relationship and honoring and connection than there is with our modern industrial food, you know, system, which is so hyper violent. And then all that violence is translated into our food energetically, and we eat it, and then we have this, you know, sort of download of violence, even in non-violent foods per se, you know, like Impossible Burgers, you know. Not sure those are most consciously, intentionally, respectfully created foods,
Hmm.
you know. So um, I think that's going to be a big piece of our collective human healing, is this reciprocity with land, you know, because even if we all move into the breatharian state, your house is made of wood,
Hmm.
and, you know, stone and
Hmm.
things from land, you know, and to give thanks for our connection with
Right.
these things, and to be aware of the things we consume, to extend beyond just breatharianism and our health and our spiritual advancement on the personal level,
Right.
but to really see that go into those other realms of merit and creating ripples of change, to extend it to all beings. And
Hmm. Absolutely.
how you doing? You want to keep going?
Uh-oh. Okay, you just came back. I don't know what you said before.
Oh, I was just saying, I was just checking on time and wondering, I want to honor your time. You still good?
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, this has been awesome. This has been awesome, brother. Yeah, thank you for
Yes,
this.
sir. Uh, Always a pleasure, brother. I love our conversations. I love having you as a brother. So thank you for joining me. And, you know, hopefully you can join me next Monday. Always appreciate everything you're sharing and doing to uplift and support the Breatharian community and the human community on the whole. And thank you, everyone, for showing up. Hope you got something from this today. And
Likewise.
I wish you all a beautiful day.
All right. Take care.
Peace, family.
Peace.